What's going on at Nebraska's spring practice so far? Matt Rhule met with the media as well as some of his assistants, some of his players. Let's just go check in Lincoln. We're not going to get the full story just yet on what they're going to be in the fall. Matt Rhule has said as much. He's like, I don't know if we're good yet, but I know we're coachable. So that's a good sign. When it comes to spring practice and what they're doing right now at Nebraska, he came on the show and told us as much. Spring is about establishing standards. You got a mouthpiece check when you show up at practice. You check in when you show up at practice. You make sure that your jersey is covering all of your pads. Some of you are listening to this and saying, that's kind of overkill, right? Hey, what's going on? That's maybe just a little bit much, Coach Rhule. Listen, learning to do things the right way is what's happening right now at Nebraska. And winning, Matt Rhule will tell you this, is not something that just happens on a Saturday afternoon. Winning is how you show up to practice. Winning is what you show up wearing to practice. Winning is following directions. If I can't trust you to bring the right mouthpiece to practice or to bring a mouthpiece to practice, as is our standard, I can't trust you to not jump off sides when it's 4th and 1 and we got to beat Iowa. Okay, simple as that. Establishing standards, establishing culture. We told you that was what Matt Rhule was going to bring to Lincoln. So far, he's making good on that. There are only a few practices in, but if I'm a Nebraska fan, I'm encouraged because great organizations, whether it's football, whether it's business, whether it's anything in whatever field you want to talk about, they have high standards, and you hold those standards all of the time. That's what they're doing at Nebraska. They're trying to implement that and show these kids the right way to do things. So are you going to win a game because you have the right mouthpiece? Not exactly. But you are going to win games because you do things the right way all the time. It's a habit. Winning is a habit. Make sure you're subscribed. Get a membership at Husker Online. They cover this team better than anybody else in the industry. Again, that's the Husker Online Nebraska On 3 site. Lock it in there. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at JD Pickell. We have a great conversation on those platforms as well. Want to do more of which I want to see. So we appreciate y'all for that. Now, let's talk about the running back room. Because I think Matt Rhule had some really interesting updates there. Anthony Grant is currently suspended. Matt Rhule made sure to say that this is not a thing where Anthony's a bad kid. It's just a matter of him getting academically headed the right direction and doing things our way. So that's as much detail as he gave. But Anthony Grant, obviously, you would expect to be a big part of Nebraska's offense going forward if he's able to get back with the team here sooner rather than later. Gabe Ervin, guy's been a little bit dinged up at Nebraska, and he said as much. Sounds like he's been balling during winter and spring. Matt Rhule called him one of the stars of the offseason. He's about 220-ish pounds, one of the fastest players on the team. That is a very good sign. And Matt Rhule talked about why that's important. He's like, listen, you got to be able to finish games in the fourth quarter. 4 times a year ago, we lost the game in the fourth quarter. How do you win games with a lead in the fourth quarter? You don't give the rock back, man. You hand it to boys like Gabe Ervin, who can run you over at 220 pounds and keep those chains moving, keep that clock moving, and cause the opposition to die a slow death. That's who Nebraska wants to be now. Remember, he came on the show and talked about it. We want to be physical. We want to play in the trenches. We want to block. We want to tackle. We want to run the football. So having one of your running backs, one of your bigger backs, be called one of the stars of the offseason, that's a very good sign for Nebraska. So be fired up if you're in Lincoln. Now, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback battle, and I think that's fair. Casey Thompson, it sounds like, hasn't done anything in terms of a live setting or throwing. It's going to be Jeff Sims for the spring at least, is the sentiment I'm gathering when I listen to Coach Rhule and when you kind of read the content over there on the Husker Online site. Not they don't have other guys, but we're going to get a better gauge for the quarterbacks when we get into scrimmages. Because you can throw a good ball in 7-on-7, you can do the individual drills well, but until you actually lead a group of men on the field and you lead them down the field and you get points and you put drives together, that's when I know what you are as a quarterback. When the live bullets are flying, when we get to scrimmages, that's when we'll actually get a real gauge for what these quarterbacks are going to be in that room. So we'll keep an eye on that. They're going to scrimmage here, it sounds like, in the coming weekends. And those are going to be big weekends for Nebraska to get a good gauge for what they have going through spring football and trying to establish a depth chart for when they do get to fall camp. So keep it locked right here. Again, Husker Online, best in the game. Lock it in over there. Sean Callahan and those folks do a phenomenal job, and make sure you're subscribed here because we talk college football every single day. It's a privilege to do it. Love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.